So let's talk what goes up must come down after the high to the low, the integration, I guess. It's only been 2 weeks after my kind of shift. I'm just guessing. I don't really know. Shift into unity. I don't really know, but something happened. And I realize it's a little early for me to be sharing experiences. I know people don't talk about these right up front, but why not? I mean, stuff is happening. And why not share? So this is like my own video diary, because I find myself forgetting so much these days. I'm sure you have too. I can't remember what I did 5 minutes ago. There were, after, that shift into unity, which I felt like my whole ego for 2 days. I don't think I mentioned this in the other video. For 2 days, I felt completely absorbed, and I still feel completely absorbed, meaning like my ego, mind, personality, self had been absorbed or eaten up by the ocean of consciousness. And for 2 days, I was kind of walking around feeling empty, not here, kind of like a robot. And very weird thing, I sent a video to my friend Jenny out there, but I was walking around with this like uber heightened sense of alertness, and even my eyes were like, it was so bizarre, almost like I was on some chemical substance, like Coke or something, and like bing, 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 bing. And I was like looking at things everywhere and everything I was looking at was me. And I felt no me here, except my sense of me is in everything. That feeling still remains. That heightened, intense eye thing, that was bizarre. And I was looking in the mirror and it was like, I can't recognize, I couldn't recognize myself. So I sent a funny message to my friend to see if I looked different to her. Anyway, some of the physical things though, for the past 2 weeks or so, the nausea has been incredible. I am only guessing it's part of this new energetic opening, as well as now. So those 2 days, it was really incredible, but I was really so detached. And from what I understand, some people, when they wake up when they shift in consciousness, you can shift and have, I hope you can't hear my stomach growling. You can shift and have a blissful experience of that state and kind of hang there for a while, or you can have a rather detached kind of experience of that. And I just wonder if that's kind of more, I think it has to do with how much of the personality or the ego structure can allow the bliss in, heart opening. And I'm pretty close there. So I think I kind of experience things in a more detached kind of way for now, till the heart opens more. Anyway, so you can have bliss and or this detachment. Same. Maybe it's more, maybe I'm more aligned with a Shiva or masculine consciousness, or I don't know. But anyway, so you can have both a blissful shift or a detached shift. Okay, so after those 2 days, the evening when I was I felt it. It was so disappointing. The evening of the second night, I was laying my head down on the bed, and all of a sudden, ego came back. The mind came back. Oh, it was terrible, terrible. And this is what happens, right? You have a shift and you think, oh, great, no more ego. That's what I thought. I thought I'd shattered it, but nope, came roaring back. And the lows are really low. I have to tell you, it's been, first of all, the exhaustion, totally exhausted, the nausea, lack of motivation, along with just intense, I don't want to call it rage, but I'm going to say just ultimate frustration. The ego's back, and I think it's pissed. I think it's pissed about this shift. I mean, of course, that's exactly what it is. And teachers all over talk about how the ego it freaks out because it recognizes its own death, and it will do everything it can. And whatever the person is holding, that will come raging right up, particularly in this shift to unity, because that's kind of a huge thing. And unity consciousness you can't hold things like grief and despair and anger and hatred. All those things are going to come roaring up, and they do, and they did. And so I'm experiencing this intense frustration, and I can hear the ego saying, what do you mean I'm now in unity consciousness? I've never had fun in this life, and all I've been doing is working on myself, and I'm pissed. I don't know. It's like, it's not even funny. So intense anger, frustration for life, along with, underneath that is like despair. I'm feeling pretty good today, so I have to go back. Just like a mourning. It was just death. Anyway, so that's, I guess the integration begins. What else did I want to share with you? So, yeah, my sense of self now, I feel sort of certain that this is a permanent shift. And look, when you have shifts in consciousness or awakenings or openings, it's always the elementary level. It's like you're a beginner again, and so there's all kinds of levels within these different there's all different kinds of stages within each level of consciousness. So and you're always starting at the bottom. You always feel like you've never even been on the spiritual journey, because it's like, this is what it feels like. It's like everything's been ripped away. And you feel, people have said this so many times in interviews, God has left. Once again, you're all alone. You've been stripped, and all you're left with is this raging ego structure that's pretty pissed about this new shift. And it feels like you kind of feel this empty, no connection to anything. It's really horrible. It's horrible. But I can't wait for you to experience it. Anyway, just to give you an example of how horrible it can be, there's an interview on Conscious TV by J.C. Mack, and he went from he didn't have, I've been going like on this progressive, hit this level, hit this level, hit this level, and all this beautiful linear thing, right? So along the way, I get to work on myself, blah, 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 and do integration. But apparently, from what I understand, he went from zero, some spiritual work, but not self-realization, and then God consciousness or whatever. He went from 0 to unity in one afternoon, this whole process. And he was walking around in this detached state for, I think, I don't know, 11 months. Yeah, couldn't function, exhausted, couldn't eat. And that's another thing. If I still wasn't so attached to my little evening time snacking, I have no need to eat. I very rarely feel hungry. And it just takes a tiny amount of food to, to take away that hunger. But I have to say, it's just my habit that I continue to eat, but now hunger is going away. Anyway, when he said when the ego came back, he also felt devastated. God had left him. And then he spent like the next year, because he went from 0 to unity, next year, like curled up in total fear about everything. Like he couldn't even find an origin. And I have to say, this anger that is rising up in me makes me just want to flail myself against the wall. I'm just telling you like it is. I'm going within, and I can't quite find the origin of it. But he was saying the same thing, and his thing was fear. He was fearful of everything. He'd be curled up in the bed and just crying all the time. Oh yeah, the crying. It's crazy. And then this other interview with somebody, kind of the same, shifted into unity. I can't remember the guy's name. And he was saying that he kind of had to lock himself away and isolate himself because he was having such violent thoughts that he had to keep himself away from people, that it really scared him. So why am I going on and on and on about this? Number one, I needed to hear that. Thank you, universe helpers, for directing me to the interviews and the videos I needed to hear, because just when I needed it. Because when you're feeling this like rage and kind of hatred, some hatred is coming up in me. And you think, how can this stuff be coming up when I've just been in total bliss? I'm one with everything. And then you feel horrible. It feels horrible to feel this, but apparently normal. I think a lot of spiritual teachers out there are really doing a disservice to their students by not really telling it like it is, by being really honest about their own journey. So, I know whoever's watching this out there, you've had your own shifts. We're all shifting. And if you know me and you're connecting with me, then you're shifting along with me. And you may be feeling the same thing and thinking this can't be, but it is. It's a real thing. Just hang on. It will get better. Yeah. You're not a horrible person. You're purging. It feels ancient, this anger. I mean, I know a lot of it is personal. This current personality has a lot of anger and rage and despair, but it also feels very old. Anyway, enough of that. So in realization, when a person has self-realization, I've noticed a lot of people say, and this is how I was experiencing it, that their awareness of self is kind of like up here. You're the big witness watching everything. You're on the mountain, and I probably said this before, but in unity, the witness collapse and you kind of, and I don't know. So this is how I experience myself right now. it's, and I've just gotten confirmed by, see, I was directed by another interview, and this guy was saying exactly what I needed to hear, exactly what I'm experiencing. It's amazing. Everything I realize, other people are saying it, and, you know, I just wish I wouldn't doubt myself. This is kind of becoming, I don't know, like a personal diary here. I hope you don't mind. I don't know if I'm going to upload it. Yeah, I will. But so my sense of self, while completely feels dissipated, my sense of self, so you could say your sense of self was like in your head, right? I could feel like my mind is all right in here prior to awakening. And then it was up here, but still mind was in there. In this zone, you could kind of feel it. Now, there's nothing here, nothing. I feel nothing. I feel no sense of self in my body. And except my awareness feels like it's clumped right here in front of my face. It's annoying as heck, but it's like all localized right here. And let's see, for a while, my thoughts were like out there, like very dissipated in consciousness. And now all of a sudden, my thoughts and consciousness are all like glumped right here. I mean, I physically can feel like this energetic presence, like right there in front of my face. And that's the only place I feel myself. For some reason, I'm having a very difficult time grounding into the body. So that's something interesting. It's not very comfortable. But here's what I'll tell you. When I look around, I recognize that everything is me. And there's this sense of complete equanimity. The whole idea that this ego mind thought it was, I never really thought I was better than, but it's more evolved. I'm a human. That's a calendar. That's a plant. There's no uniqueness. There's no separateness. And if I tune into something, it's easier with like plants and nature things, but even inanimate objects, the calendar, if I tune into it, then suddenly for a millisecond, I get confused. It's like I'm becoming that thing. And if I tune into this glump of my consciousness, if I focus in on that all of a sudden, I'm doing it right now, the bliss starts bubbling inside my body. But then the consciousness, if I follow it and stay with it, it starts expanding out everywhere. It's like now everything becomes consciousness. I can feel it. And it goes on forever. And it's a little disconcerting. Anyway, I probably rambled on too much. So that's the current status of that. It's interesting. I do realize that you really do need people to share with, because it's such an odd experience. Anyway, I hope this helps in any way, not perhaps you're having these same experiences or feelings coming up, and just know it's all okay. All right, enough of my ramblings. Thank you for listening, if you're still here.